I'm here with my comic wrap up for the month of January. I read a total of 5 comics, so let's just get right into it. I'm going to start from the worst and go to the best. Then I read Dawn of the Arcana by Ray Tomy, which is a manga, and this was just a random manga I had on my shelf, and I liked it enough, but I fear that it may go away from the kind of really cool world building that they're doing into kind of a love story. So I'm going to read other issues to see if that's what actually happens. Dawn of the Arcana is about a island nation that's divided into 2 kingdoms, and they're, for a truce they send a princess over to marry one of the princes. But the thing is, the ruling family all have dark hair, and the people they rule over all have light hair, but the princess has light hair. And then there's this issue of these kind of like animal-human crossbreed people who are kind of like slaves and kind of looked down upon. So like there's these different levels of prejudice within the world. That is what interested me. But there's also this relationship between this really prejudiced prince and this light-haired princess. So I'll give it a few more issues and see how that goes. Then I read Incognegro, and the only reason this is in the middle is because these other 2 comics are just amazing. But Incognegro is really good as well. It's about a black man who's passing as white in the 1920s, and he uses that to his advantage to investigate lynchings and other injustices against black people that would be very dangerous for a black man to go and investigate. And then he writes about it. And it's really interesting. It's all done in black and white, which does 2 things. First of all, it makes it feel like you're reading like a newspaper, which would be in black and white. And second of all, it makes it harder to distinguish between who's white and who's black, so it kind of plays on this whole idea of passing, which is really quite interesting. And then I read Fell, all the issues that are out, 1 to 9. This is written by Warren Ellis, and I'll include the artist and everything here. And I always seek out Warren Ellis comics. I love the way that he writes about crime and detectives and such. It's so gritty, but also very genius. Like, he has no hesitation writing about some really disturbing things, but making it such a interesting and engaging plot at the same time, and without just relying on gory imagery. It's also about, good writing. And I love this because of the art inside. It's done in watercolor and uses a lot of blank spaces as well, so I really enjoyed that. Fell follows a detective who came from the good side of town. He was a really good detective. Something happened. We don't really find out what, because I guess it was cancelled before he got to that. And he's come over to like the really bad side of town where it's kind of just like being neglected. And he comes in and he wants to try and get things in line. And then the best comic I read this month was Kabuki, and I actually found it's volume number 5. I didn't know because it was just called Kabuki, and I then discovered that there's 7 volumes in total for this, so I'm really glad about that. I was able to read volume 5 without being confused or anything. Everything was kind of straightforward and laid out, but I'm definitely interested in seeing more of the backstory of this character. So Kabuki is about a Japanese agent who is sent to a psychiatric facility for secret agents, and it's about her, dealing with her psychological issues, her past, and also trying to escape at the same time. And the art in it is phenomenal. It is it's watercolor for most of it, but it's also multimedia. And what is a very interesting thing that he does is he makes you look at the art for the words. So you're not just, kind of, what happens sometimes when you're reading a comic and you just look at the words and you sometimes fail to look at the art? He asks you to actually look at the art, because you have to go and find the words. There were times where I was about to flip the page and I was like, oh no, I see a word here, and I'd have to follow it around the picture to read what was going on. And it has one of my all-time favorite scenes now from a comic, where there's a fight scene done as a board game. So you have to read it, and there's even like spaces that say you were hit, go back 2 spaces, and it was really quite cool that way. It really engages you with the art, which is a great thing I find in comics. So those are the comics I read this month. Let me know if you read any of these and what you thought of them, and thank you for watching.